Well, good evening, everyone. I'm so glad that you can be here for Writers Talking TV, brought to you by the Writers Guild of Canada. I'm Robina Lord Stafford, and I've most recently written on season 2 of Sherry Elwood's Moonshine. That is, season 1 is now streaming on CBC Gem. The WGC would like to acknowledge that although this event is online, we each live and work on ancestral Indigenous land. As we gather tonight, we would like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Huron-Wendat, and the Mississaugas of New Credit, on which the City of Toronto and the WGC offices stand. We give our thanks and respect for the leadership of Indigenous land defenders across the country for always being at the forefront of protecting the earth and all life that sustains it. And we are grateful to have the opportunity to work in the community and on this territory. Tonight, we're going to be talking about CBC's Pretty Hard Cases, which debuted in February of 2021 to great reviews from critics and audiences alike. The second season is going to be just as funny, I'm hoping, and action-packed and heartful of this female buddy cop series, and it is set to launch on CBC on January 5th, so make sure you tune in. And who better to discuss the show than its co-creators and co-showrunners, Sherry White and Tassie Cameron. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hi, having us.
It's great. It was great to meet you, Sherry. And I was telling Tassie just before we started that she actually taught the very first screenwriting class I ever took, which was many, many years ago at the Eden Mills Writers Festival. So I feel like Tassie is part of the reason I am here today as a writer and hosting this. So thanks, Tassie.
My pleasure. I'm blown away by this. It's wonderful.
I know most people here either know you personally or know of you, but for those who may have been, hunkering down in a bomb shelter in the last couple of decades, I'm just going to offer a quick bio. Tassie Cameron is a Gemini and CSA winning screenwriter who has written for TV and feature films. She was the showrunner, co-showrunner, and executive producer on the critically acclaimed Mary Kills People, and has served as a writer, creator, executive producer, and/or showrunner on many other shows, including Rookie Blue, Little Dog, Nurses, Private Eyes, 10 Days in the Valley, Flashpoint, Degrassi, The Next Generation, and more. And she's also a proud graduate and board member of the Canadian Film Centre. Sherry White has been writing and directing and producing film and television for over 20 years and just submitted some incredible assignments for her master's degree. Congratulations. Like, what don't you do, Sherry? She is best known for writing the film Maudie, which won 7 CSAs, including Best Original Screenplay. She also wrote and directed the award-winning feature Cracky, which played dozens of festivals worldwide after premiering at TIFF. And she has directed on Nurses, Burden of Truth, Little Dog, for which she was nominated twice for WGC Outstanding Directorial Achievement in a Comedy Series, and has directed the finale of Pretty Hard Cases. And that is why we're here today. We're going to be discussing the genesis of this incredible show, a little bit, hopefully you'll let us know a little bit of what to expect for season 2. We'd love to know a bit more about life in your writer's room. And at the end, we're going to have about 20 minutes or so for participants to ask questions. So just drop them either in the chat or in the Q&A, and we'll get to them in a bit. Right now, we're going to kick things off with a sneak peek of season 2 of Pretty Hard Cases.
Be going easy. Follow my lead. Keep it going on 3, on 2, on 1, go. Detective Duff and I, we finish each other's sentences.
No, we don't finish each other's
sentences.
thoughts.
Oh my gosh, she just did that on purpose.
Stop.
I know what I was.
You need to change.
Here we go. You need to come with us.
That's it.
All right, I'm going in. I'm gonna be in and out of here in 10 minutes.
Make it 7.
Don't micromanage me. Nobody has to get hurt, okay? Just take it easy. Stop! Hey, you okay? Friends respect boundaries. We look out for one another. I can take care of myself.
She's just looking out for you. You should have let her sometime.
I promise we're gonna get there. In this job, you shouldn't make promises. Friends don't judge. Oh my God. Am I your best friend? Can't be so annoying about it. Put your hands up.
Let's go.
Yes.
Dream big, you know?
Amazing. I was giggling through that, so I had to put myself on mute. It's so great to see some fan favorites back. Yay, Karen Robinson, I love her. But the most important question is, do we get to see Kevin the dog?
Yes. In fact, you could see him here tonight if you wanted, but.
Is Kevin your dog?
Yeah.
And is Kevin the dog's real name?
No, he's the Fonz in real life.
He's what?
The Fonz?
Oh my God, from Happy Days. I love it. It's excellent. That's so funny.
In fact, you'll see 2 of Sherry's dogs this season.
Oh, wow. Amazing. When I was a kid growing up in Jamaica, my neighbor was a flight attendant, and I thought she was like the most glamorous person I'd ever seen in my life. And so when they came in their great red outfits, it was like, yeah, there you go. I still have dreams of that. So I can see that season 2 looks like it's going to be just as action-packed. But before we get into that, can you tell us a little bit about how this show came to be? Like, what's the genesis of it all?
Well, Tassie and I worked together on Rookie Blue for 6 seasons. And, that was how our friendship formed. We sort of bonded through work. And so I think it was after Rookie Blue was over, though. I think we were on a plane going to Newfoundland, right? When I think we watched The Heat or Bridesmaids on one of those. Whatever was The Heat, and we were having such a good laugh. And so that the fun of it, that having it such a good laugh, like having and seeing these women be, outrageous and hilarious was something we really wanted to do. And then, we wanted to work on a show together where it wasn't people at the beginning of their career, but women at the sort of height of their career. And then how, finding a balance and friendship and meaning and all that stuff was sort of in question, which is kind of where we have been. So I guess that's really, it was just, we started talking like that and about that. And
I think we were really feeling like we wanted to not only watch as viewers, but work on as creators, something that had a lightness to it. I just come off Mary Kills People, which was, actually is quite a funny show in many ways, but it's not light subject matter. And, nor is Maudie. We've come off some, nor is 10 Days in the Valley. We'd come off some stuff together that was fairly heavy. And I think we were looking forward to trying to explore a serious world, serious stakes, but with 2 characters who happen to be as hilarious as I know Sherry White to be.
And they certainly are. So to just go a little serious for a moment, we've read a lot of the studies and articles recently about our industry getting called out for, promoting propaganda, either whitewashing police brutality that's normally against Black people or Indigenous people, and lionizing police and glorifying them. So the fact that you were able to introduce characters who had flaws and who were like interesting women, and you also look at a little bit of police corruption in season 1. I was just wondering, did you have to pivot, in the aftermath of George Floyd's murder? I would imagine you would have had your Bible and some scripts already done at that point. So did you have to change what you had already written to be able to address some of the things that were going on in the US, but in our country as well in the last few years?
We absolutely did have to. And I think we both see it as that we got to, not just had to, that we were given the opportunity. We were, we'd started our writer's room. We all went home because on Friday the 13th, right before COVID kicked in, we never went back to our writer's room. And we had to go on hiatus, like not start shooting when we planned. And during that time, the Black Lives Matter movement exploded, George Floyd's death, defund the police. And I think at first we were absolutely floored about how were we going to do this? Could we make a cop show? Could anybody make a cop show right now? Could anybody make a show at all during COVID? It was all just overwhelming. But I think that pause that we had to take because of the pandemic really gave us an opportunity to look at our scripts and our characters and our tone, and make sure that we were not lionizing police tactics, that we were looking at leaning into these characters serving and protecting instead of law and order, and that where they may have originally been kind of more action heroes, that they were dealing with things in a far more thoughtful and nuanced way and having those conversations with each other on screen. Mm-hmm. So it turned out to be an incredible opportunity, I think, for us. Sherry?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that also, we had a diverse room, but, the senior people in the room were white people. And, we have an amazing team of writers, but a lot of them were less experienced. So, we did have to look to them and I think we always created space for conversation about race and about these issues, but not really. Not that we weren't giving space. It wasn't really what was on the table. We were talking about women and female empowerment more so. And, we happened to have a Black woman character and a white woman character. But when this happened, I think that it allowed the conversations to become so much richer in the room. And I think that it empowered, we needed to look to our writers to really speak up where I think they may have felt a little intimidated. And so the conversations became so much more dynamic after this happened, and the show, I think, became much richer for it. So, and we still were, I think, able to make it fun and entertaining and light without pretending anymore.
Right. Yeah, I'm familiar with some of the people in your room, and they did say that you both created a really safe place for them, which is incredible to be able to feel that you can speak about race and other heavy topics and not feel silenced at all. So bravo to both of you for that. Thank you. So you've got a really beautifully diverse cast. Was that your intent from the start to have so many beautiful faces of color on your show?
That was always our intention, yes. And we were incredibly lucky to have cast Adrienne in that role before anything had started. And yeah, no, I think we were, it was very much on our minds. We wanted the cast to be as diverse as possible. And Sherry.
I mean, yeah, no, I don't think Shanks, we intended Shanks. We didn't really set out. Karen just blew our minds when she auditioned for Shanks. I don't know that we were even intending for her to be a Black woman or anything. She just was the role and made that decision. We always intended for Kelly to be a Black woman, and we just love the idea of a Black woman and a white woman working together and sort of opening up each other's points of view on the world. Amazing. And that became so much more important after the Black Lives Matter movement exploded. So
Adrienne and Meredith are like perfect together. They're so funny, and the foil, like it's as if they're, you can feel like they have a real friendship. I don't know if that's the case or they're just like that good of an actors, but like you can really feel a dynamic between them. It's great. And they also bring like a really real, authentic, emotional balance to it, and that of friendship. And so what can you tell us about season 2, like as far as how their friendships evolve and how their characters evolve?
I think season 2, the quote we kind of used as a bit of a lodestar for season 1 was an Abraham Lincoln quote, which was, "I do not like that man. I must get to know him better," which was sort of, that was, and yeah. We were really using that with our 2 lead characters. It's like, you are totally different from me, and that means I need to get to know what's behind you so that I can be better at my job and be a better person. And anyway, for this season, they were obviously, by the end of season 1, they were friends. Mm-hmm. So, but with that deepening of a professional friendship always comes trials and tribulations as you get to know each other, as you cross each other's boundaries in ways that you didn't mean to. And as you, with deepening of friendship, there comes inevitable tensions. And so the show kind of, you know, arcs them down and brings them back again in what I hope is a deep and nuanced way.
It's wonderful seeing women who aren't, you know, in their teens or 20s, because that's what we tend to see with friendships. It's lovely to see, like, you know, I don't want to say older, but a little bit older women who have got that cultivated, and it's like really beautiful. It's exciting to see that. Thank you.
I think that for us, sorry, I think that for Sherry and for me, our female friendships are one of the most important things in our lives, not just with each other, although my friendship with Sherry is one of the most important relationships in my life, but with our other female friends, like, and I think that this is an homage or you know, I mean, this is an exploration of how incredibly important those friendships are, especially as you get older.
Yeah, there was a recent study, I think within the last 4 or 5 years, that said that women who have deep and meaningful female friendships live longer than those who don't. And I think that's, you know, like we might look at, if we have a partner, to that person for everything, but really it's the friendships that kind of hopefully sustain us and take us through. So it's beautiful to see it.
Yeah, and I think what's important about this show is, and you know, there are those Sex in the Cities and stuff like that, that it celebrates these deep, meaningful friendships. But this show is exploring that, but it's also exploring how we forget to nurture that. And that these women haven't been nurturing that for so long. And you get to a certain point in your life, and it's like, how do you make friends? How do you make friends if you're not out of the club drinking? Or how do you open yourself up to that? And so that was also really important, so that you saw, certainly for Sam, she's much more vulnerable in that way, that finding a friendship is really important to her. And she really, really, really wants it, but she's sort of awkward about it. And, you know, there's this feeling that if you don't have friends, you're losers, but we wanted to show that no, that these people just have abandoned that because they threw all their energy into their work or their family or whatever, and they just sort of neglected that. And then here they are. And then that is going to be the rock that sort of makes their life more meaningful. Yeah. And so we wanted to arc it on that being the relationship more than the love story that you normally see.
It is a love story, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's great. And the fact that Sam has this son that's now, you know, he's a little older, and found out that this is actually Sherry's son who plays the part of Elliot, which is super cool because he's great. That he's a little older, and then what do you do? Like, you know, my kids are at that age too, and it's like they don't want to hang out with me anymore. They've got their own lives, and so I'm so grateful to have those friendships in my life so that I'm not like alone. It's very good. Yeah. So season 1 has this really kind of like serialized episodic hybrid feel to it. And so are you changing any of that structure for a second season, or are you kind of following along?
I would say it's a similar structure. I would say that what we don't do in season 2 quite in the same way is go into the bad guy's point of view as much as we did in season 1. That in season 1, we'd imagined it almost as a trio, you know, with Tiggy, that character as the third leg of the stool of those women, you know.
Yeah.
And I think I loved how that worked out. But this season we needed different bad guys and a different serialized arc. And I think that going into the points of view of those other characters was tricky. And so that's the major change in season 2. Mm-hmm. Is it's more from our police characters' points of view.
Yeah, so it allows the sort of the mystery of what's going on a little bit more too, because the audience isn't getting ahead of Sam and Kelly so much. So I think it's more successful in that way. The crime story, you know.
And do you have so this was 10 episodes for season 1. Is season 2 the similar? Is that what
12.
we're doing?
12.
Oh, great. You got 2 extra episodes.
Yes, we did.
Congratulations. So how do you approach balancing the comedy and the drama, especially given the nature that it is a police kind of show?
I think it's one of the most challenging things I've done in my career, getting the tone right on this show. It is really, really much harder than perhaps it looks, because you don't see it done very often. There aren't that many kind of funny procedurals out there, like
Right.
1 hour procedurals. So there's not a lot of, I mean, I guess Grey's and even Rookie Blue in its own way had a lightness of touch, but
not like the laugh out loud funny, like yours. Like I laugh really hard when I'm watching it.
Yeah, and that's it. The tone sometimes it crosses over into that, and we did always want that. We did always want that. It's hard. It is a challenge, you know. It's a balance, and it's a tricky thing. Every episode is. It takes the whole team of the network and the writers and the actors and everybody to sort of feel like, when is it pushed too far? When do we need to pull back? When does it feel like it's too serious? And every script is a little bit of push and pull between those two. And sometimes we get it wrong, you know?
So is there one of you the funnier one? Like
Sherry's going to say, Sherry once said in a job interview, we were interviewing somebody to be a director on the show, and she's like, well, what did you say? I'm the funny one? About herself?
I do not remember this. I don't remember it being in a job interview. I know that we did have a similar conversation about that, but I thought it was just the two of us. But anyway, I would leave that up to anybody else to make that. I'm not going to be announcing who's funnier.
I think we are both pretty funny, and we make each other laugh a lot. So I don't think that it's certainly not that I'm sitting there saying, okay, time for a good cry, Sherry, like Rain Man or anything. I think that we both, I mean, writing the funny stuff is like the great joy for me on this show. Like getting to write these moments where these characters digress, or where they tell a story that's inspired by something we've heard in the writing room, or something that's happened to us or to our friends. And I mean, using that real stuff of human experience to be absurd in places is a great joy for both of us, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Who's got the gliders? Like, is that one of you, the gliding slippers? Like, as soon as he pulled them out, I was like, I remember those slippers. They're amazing.
Yeah, that was my aunt. Like, that was based on my Aunt Carmel. His Aunt Carmel is my Aunt Carmel.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What do you, so how does your room operate on a day-to-day, kind of like from development to day-to-day to prep and production? How do you divide this all up, both of you being co-showrunners? Does one of you take the room and the other person's doing the meetings, or how do you divvy up the work?
It's pretty, because we haven't had a traditional writing room since COVID started, what we do is we kind of block off 12 to 4 as a potential time that we might get together with the writers over Zoom. And sometimes we use the 4 hours, sometimes we don't meet at all. Sometimes we meet at the beginning, at top of that time together, assign different tasks or scene work or various things, or breakout rooms, meet with our consultants during that time. But I think in terms of the meetings, I mean, in season 1, Sherry and I tried to be on most of the meetings together because we were finding our tone together. So it was really important for us to build that language as a partnership and you know, in all our meetings. I think in season 2, we were able to divide and conquer a bit more. I think that 99% of the time, Sherry's going to pick what I pick, or vice versa. So the meetings we always do together are the tone meetings, usually the production meetings. We do post, we both work on post together. We both take passes on the script. We like to do a pass of the script together in the same room if possible, like a real final kind of gut check pass together. But we just, you know.
We did do a lot of what worked best for us. is a lot of independent work being done. Like, so, you know, we had a really great team of writers who were really great independent workers who would work on a break, bring it, you know, bring the storylines sort of beat out, and we'd talk it through. So we weren't kind of showing up with blank slates every day. And that worked well. Like, honestly, even if the pandemic ever did end, I would want to, I feel like this show works for that, because it's nice to not debate every, you know, especially with finding the personality and the voice and of the humor and the tone. And it's such a delicate thing that it's nice to be alone with and then come and present personally.
How many writers do you have in your room?
We had second season, we had myself and Tassie, Jillian and Seneca. Chris Roberts was there for a while.
Kiwi Lynch, Karina Samuels. We had Ian for a while. We had Maisie Jacobson for a while, for second half.
And Kristen Lambie
Lambie
was our writer's assistant.
So it's sort of, it expanded and contracted. There was always a core of about 5. And then some people who joined us later or left us earlier for various reasons, so.
For second season, were you still just doing it virtually?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you think, you know, once this pandemic is over, she says, hopefully, because, you know, like, people have been able to join rooms that don't live in one of the industry epicenters like Toronto or Vancouver. And so we've, like, for instance, I was in a writer's room this year, and, you know, my showrunner is in Nova Scotia and some of the other writers were in LA. So that worked, that we were able to all meet this way. And I wouldn't have had that opportunity possibly if we did not have COVID. So what do you think going forward? Like, do you like meeting on Zoom, or can't you wait to get back into a room with real life people?
I don't think Sherry has any interest in ever getting back in a room with real life people. I do miss I miss the kind of shooting the shit with the writers a little bit, and the kind of stuff that comes out organically when you're making a coffee and sitting down and talking about your weekend. And I miss the camaraderie. I think the writers certainly miss that. Mm-hmm. But I think that what we've learned is that there's a lot of wasted time in a 10 to 4 room or a 10 to 5 room. You can't be on in that way properly. I don't find it's very draining, and I think that's why so much time is wasted, because it's hard to be kind of focused in that way for that long during the day. So I would say we're working smarter now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, you know, I did like Karina came over and we broke for a little bit. Like, I like doing little, you know, smaller groups, and it being a little bit casual in the process sometimes is really good. But I would agree that there isn't a tremendous amount of wasted time and food eating that goes on that I'm happy to. And, you know, it's like, I remember Marie Clement said, you can't hear, you know, sometimes there's so much talking, you can't hear the characters speak. And I feel that so strongly. There's just so much debate sometimes in a room that you just like, your instincts can't be heard. So, but there's certainly, I mean, I have spent many years in rooms and loved it too. So there's, I think you just get to a point probably where it's not as fun as it used to be.
So I see that from some of the attendees here, they just completed the BIPOC TV and Film Showrunners Boot Camp. So Anthony, I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but Anthony Farrell was super generous over 4 weekends of giving up his advice and pitfalls and what to look for. And I have a binder full of information now that I've gleaned from him. What advice can you offer to the future showrunners that are here?
I mean, the biggest lesson I ever learned, and it was actually when I I was sitting on a board of a theater company years ago, and I was just there as the secretary. And so I would take notes or whatever. And the woman who was running the board was like, she was a professor, and she was like just this powerhouse woman. And the other people that were on the executive were quite powerful and confident and articulate and educated. And I was still in my 20s, and I just didn't feel like she was leaving the board, they were leaving the board, and they wanted me to be the chair. And I just was like, there's no way, I am not you guys. Like, I'm just not in the same world as you guys. But she encouraged me to do it anyway. And it was like this little light bulb went off for me, that I realized you just have to be the leader that you are. Like, you just have to be who you are, and trying to be this one or that one, or trying to follow the footsteps of that or that. You have to kind of tap into your own sense of, how do I want to break story? How do I include everybody's voice? How do I delegate? How do you get it done? And start from how you work. And there's no two showrunners who will tell you that it works the same way. Mm-hmm. So that was my moment when I realized I could do that kind of job. And that I found my voice as a leader was on a board, so, and that was actually quite, that was probably the biggest learning experience for me, was sitting on a board, strangely.
I've never heard that story. It's a good story. And I think that's excellent advice. I think being not trying to emulate another person's process always, or personality style or approach. You can glean amazing things from all different kinds of leaders, and always keep learning. I think Sherry and I both feel that we keep learning. We learn from the writers in our room every day, and the people we work with. I mean, I guess in terms of a showrunner, I think it is such a different job than just being a writer. That's, I guess, you have to make sure you're up for that job, for the diplomacy the job it needs, and for the amount of, for the I always say vibe merchant. Like, you're a vibe merchant. You're not just a writer. Being an excellent writer is 50% of it, absolutely, but you're leading, and you're inspiring, and you're being people's shrink, and you're kicking people's ass, and you're listening to notes from networks, and you're going to post and dealing with editors, and it's such, being on set, dealing with the actors, making sure that they're happy with their hair, that there's so much other stuff to this job. Yeah, you have to make sure you're kind of up for that and into that. And
did you know you were up for that and into that before you were show running your first show?
I think I did, or I knew that I wanted to be up for that and into that, because I remember in university, it was in fourth year university, and I was writing, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. And I wrote all my interests out on a piece of paper. And I was like, I like film, I like fashion, I like TV, I like interior design. I wrote all these things. And then at the end, I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess I like writing, I like words, I like, and all the only thing I could think of that was the hybrid of all those interests was film and television. And so it's not just that I was interested in writing, it's that I care about what people wear. I care about what their hair looks like. I care about what their rooms look like. I care about the music that plays in the show, and the title card font. And I'm a jack of all trades. And so I really do love all that other, and I like people sometimes. So so I think I did deep down know that I wanted to have a say in all those different components.
That's so great to hear it articulated like that, because it's the same for me. Like, I love the hair, like being on set. I love all aspects of, like, even just making sure the set dressing is like, just right on. Like, that's all so important. And so that's really cool that I've never thought about the fact that there are all these things that I too love. And so it just kind of makes sense to become a showrunner one of these days.
Well, and when you turn it from being, I used to think of it as a flaw, that I was kind of interested in all these things, but not really maybe great at any one of them. I wasn't great at hair or great at interior design, but that when you can kind of turn that into a superpower where your interest and passion, frankly, for all those different things becomes why you're good at your job, you know, rather than just that you're kind of interested in too many things, you know.
Exactly, because I can't do hair, but I know what I like to see and what I want my actors to look like. So that's great. That's actually really great advice. Thank you. What about striking the work-life balance? Like, so you've been a showrunner on your own and then you've co-showrun. So do you find a huge difference when you have a co-showrunner? Are you able to get more of a work-life balance because there's two of you that are kind of like, your face is saying no?
In my case, and Sherry's also showrun on her own and co-showrun.
Yeah.
In my case, I would always rather co-showrun with somebody, as long as I love them and get along with them and trust them creatively. I find it so much more fun. It's such an impossibly huge job that to have somebody to work with and bounce ideas off of and to share things. Can you take today? I need to do this, or, you know, to have a partner is so much more pleasurable. I don't know that your work is easier, weirdly. Like, I don't know that maybe it gives you a bit more work-life balance, maybe.
I mean, I think work-life balance is all a decision you have to make no matter what. If you're doing the job alone or whatever, like, you could never showrun and never have work-life balance because it just depends, right? So I think for us, you know, we try and encourage it in each other, to have that work-life balance, and that, you know, the fact that we have each other to be concerned that each other is not taking that is really helpful. But I don't know. I mean, there is definitely, we could work all day, all night, every day, 7 days a week, and still not really have gotten to everything on this job. Like, there's just so many things that you just have to kind of go, okay, decision has to be made. It's fine. That if you could, you'd take more time, and it's just a gigantic amount of decisions to make. So
do you have a number two in your room that is able to, like, shoulder some of this as well? Great.
I mean, all of our writers they covered their prep. Jillian Locke is excellent and became, like, when Tass and I were writing episode 8, we took 4 days, did we? Where we just said, we're not doing any meetings. And Jillian, she was prepping 6, I think, at the time. She just did everything. And, like, we did very minimal meetings for those 4 days, and it was glorious.
It was like a holiday. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And we had Seneca Aaron this year too. And so between Seneca and Jillian, who are both very experienced and really confident, really amazing writers and leaders, we were incredibly lucky. And they did a lot of covering set this year, which we were grateful for.
It's great.
Yeah.
So you're, like, elevating your writers at the same time, which is really wonderful to hear.
Oh, I mean, and they deserve it. Like, you know, Kiwi Lynch, who's incredible, and Karina Samuels, who's just, like, mind-blowing and amazing, and, you know, everybody who's been on the show, and we see them, and we ideally want to invest in the writers for the long haul and see them grow.
Amazing.
So,
it's beautiful. That's great for all of us who want to follow in your footsteps too. So Canada versus the US, I know many screenwriters, and that's the holy grail, is that they want to head to LA. Did both or either of you do the LA thing? And then what, like, can you talk to, like, staying put and growing your careers here in Canada?
Go for it, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I never moved down there to pursue it down there. I was lucky that I got pulled down. Like, I got brought down on a Shondaland show. So I had that 7 months on a show that I didn't really love, but it was an amazing experience. Tass got 10 Days in the Valley ordered, and that was amazing because we had the room in Canada, but then shot it down there. So we both went. So we had that experience. We have, representation down there. We develop. There's always pitching and developing down there and stuff, but I don't really personally care where I live. I just want to be enjoying the job, and and enjoying who I work with. And that was really important. Like I worked on the Catch, the show The Catch, and I can say this because I don't think anybody will be on this Zoom. I didn't get along with one, not that I didn't get along with, but I didn't connect with one writer in the room. The whole 7 months I was there, and anybody who knows me knows how much I laugh. I did not have one genuine belly laugh in the room the whole 7 months.
Wow.
And it was really, really tough. It was really, really tough. And I learned a lot, but like, to me, I'm like, I don't want to be doing that. I don't want to spend my life doing that. And my first job, I worked in a factory. My first job ever, I worked in a factory, and all I did was like, look at the clock. When is it lunch? When is it lunch? And then I found myself doing this on The Catch. I was like constantly waiting for lunch, which I don't normally ever do. So for me, it's just who I work with is the most important. And I want to be able to know that I'm going to, have true connection. And that's my feeling. But
with the long hours we put in, like, I can't imagine just being there for 7 months and not like connecting with at least, one or two people, like, because they're become your family, right? Like you're with them more than you are with anybody else, especially once you get into, production.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a lot of people want to work for Shondaland. Is that like
this is no reflection on working for Shondaland so much. It was the show. It was how it was run. But there is something in, there was just something. I don't know that anybody was really connecting in that room. And I don't know how many rooms are like that down there. It's just, people come from everywhere to try and get on those shows. So that you're not coming in with the same sort of history. And the way we are here in Canada, we all know each other or know people who've worked with each other. So you're from one community. Yeah. And even if you're in a room with a bunch of new people, you still feel like you're part of a community in some way. And that's really important.
I think for me, it was really, I spent my 20s in New York working in film and TV, and I was so keen to come home. And I think that being part of a community was a huge part of that. And I really, I am very fueled by patriotism, to be honest. Like, I really feel that, sure, Sherry or I could go off to LA and we'd probably get jobs and we'd make money and maybe we'd have a pool. But like, at the same time, I really believe in our industry. I really believe in this country. I believe in the talent here. I feel that it gives me a bigger purpose to be part of that movement here. That my parents are here, my sister's here. I have moments like everybody, I think, where I feel super insecure. Like our friends Esther Spalding and Sammy Chels are down there in LA kicking ass and getting big deals. And there are moments where I'm like, I'm not that. And is it because I'm second rate? And, you have these real moments of fear. But if you ask them about it, they'd say, you're working all the time. Your stuff's on the air all the time. You're getting you're paid well, actually, like up here. And there's a lot to love about staying put or being flexible, going back and forth, working where the great work is, working where the great people are. I think there's a lot to love about being here.
I love that. Because I would my family's all here. I want to stay in Canada. That's really exciting for me to be able to be rooted in my home. And but I'm, open to travel. And so I like the idea that, you can go down for a few months and work on a show and then come back. So thank you. So if a writer would like to meet with you or pitch to you, like what's your process usually for that? And specifically, what if that writer isn't represented at the time?
Go ahead.
No, you.
I mean, it's a little different for me now because I have a company with my sister. The company that makes Pretty Hard Cases is my company with Amy Cameron, my sister. So a lot of that, I would say that most of the writers I'm meeting now come through the company. So we get submissions. I will say would be harder if you were not represented. We really, we meet the people, the agents we trust put us in touch with. We re-age scripts. If they interest us, we meet the writers. But that said, I have had some, I've read scripts by Uber drivers. I've read scripts, like, just if the person captivates me and I believe they might have a story to tell. I've never worked with an Uber driver. Like that's
I was like, what happened with that script?
I read two. One guy got a role at least, but
you're very kind.
I mean, I remember with Marcia Green, who I've worked with a lot and love and absolutely adore. She approached me at a conference, a diversity conference, and said, "Can I get in touch with her?" And I found her so charming and smart and funny that I said, "Yes, of course." And then she sort of gently said, "Would you be my mentor?" And I was too surprised to say anything but yes. And then and I didn't know what that meant really. And then we started working together. So it has happened in a bunch of different ways. I would say it would be very tricky without representation at this point. But Sherry, how did people get to talk to you?
I mean, yeah. Like where would someone find me? I don't know. I'm home all the time. I don't know. I'm not, but having said that, I'm always interested in people who come to writing from other careers and who bring other life experiences. Like it's great. And every room needs all of them. You need the nerd who watches every single show and who knows every single thing. You need that person in your room. You need who said this? It was Tina Fey's book, right? That she says she wants the group of some people who are improv people and some people who are the Harvard grads. So similarly, you want different, and you don't get a lot of people in the writing world that come from gritty backgrounds, really. Mm-hmm. Fairly middle class. Mm-hmm. You don't get a lot of people who, there's not many like cops who left and turned and became writers or we work with a consultant who's so creative, and he had been involved in gangs in the past. He's sort of reformed from that. But so when you have somebody who has this unique background, even if they don't have representation or they're not sort of polished writers, they're so invaluable to the room. So that will certainly always catch our attention, I think.
That's true. I mean, and we were with Karina Samuels, she wasn't represented, but she came to us. She applied for a job at Cameron Pictures as a kind of assistant at Cameron Pictures. And we realized in that interview she wanted to be a writer. And I was like, why don't you come be the writer's assistant and don't do that job? You're not going to like that job. And, she's a supremely talented writer who came to us through another route. So, and
she didn't have an agent at all. And neither did Kristen Lambie, didn't have an agent. And she came through recommendation. She was part of BIPOC or something, I think. And Kiwi called that list and found her, right?
Yeah. And we've talked to people on set, people who are PAs, people who are location people, like sometimes that writers will come to us that way, or potential coordinators and stuff. So I guess there are a few other ways.
Thank you. That kind of answers. Faith had a question. What do you, maybe touched on it a little bit, but what do you look for when staffing your room?
It's a delicate thing. Like it's one of the things that we interviewed a lot for season 1, and organic and passionate conversation about story is really important. And it's just like, it's because, and especially when it was a room, just that's so important to be able to just have free flowing dialogue. And doesn't mean that you have to be gregarious or loud or too talkative or anything, but just it's a vibe you get, right, Tass? Like we really noticed that, didn't we?
It is. And it's, like throwing the best cocktail party you can think of. There's going to be the quieter ones, but they're going to ask really insightful questions, or there's going to be the one who's going to overshare about everything and lead to great insight. And I can think of a few qualities that I look for that are consistent in the right, that I love the differences in the writers that we can put together, but I think a sense of kindness and like a safe, and people who are going to feel safe, who are not so uber competitive that they're going to make other people shut down. I think that's a consistent quality that we look for. I think a sense of humor is probably something we always look for, I think, because it's too hard a job to do without a sense of humor. Obviously, beautiful writing, special writing, like magical, something magical about the writing. So good people, great writers, safe, kind is a common denominator, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Stephanie asks, is there a singular moment in either season that just lights you up that you're really proud of?
I'm really proud of episode 8 of season 2, which hasn't aired yet. And it's directed by Wayne Mangeshi, who is an incredible theater director. And knowing that we were going to be writing, Sherry and I wrote it together, and that was really fun to do that together, and to be writing for somebody who we knew was going to potentially be so great with the actors, and that we were a bit in awe of. So I had a really fun time writing that, and there are moments in that script that really light it up for me. But there's a lot of them. There's a lot of moments where I still laugh. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, there are a lot of moments. There was. I mean, I love, in the episodes that I directed in particular, when things are, there's something so playful about when you see the actors having fun and you're standing outside and you kind of see how to throw a little bit more fun, and you give them a note that is going to make it even bigger and more silly and more fun, and it works. And so there was a few of those moments, like in episode 2 of season 2, there's a scene with a dumpster, and the shooting of that and how that worked out was just so perfect and amazing. And I laughed so hard while making it. So that, little things like that were a bit of magic for me.
That's great. I love that you get to laugh at your own show. That's awesome. Ryan has a question. This is a great question. In starting off the room, what did you ask your writers to research before beginning? He has a 3-part question. Which character voice was hardest to articulate? We'll start with those two.
I think that we always encourage our writers to read. We got a lot of inspiration for season 2 from a particular Toronto Life article about a new gang alliance that had a very unusual structure to it, and there were a lot of great details, and that was a big inspiration for us. So to come in with some, big ideas, big case ideas, research sort of longer crime stories that might be helpful. I mean, I would say that's the main thing is those kinds of, come in with some big swinging ideas about crime stories, really. What else? Sorry, I forgot what the
And the other question was which character voice was hardest to articulate. I mean, it's always really challenging to, there's the character who doesn't speak their mind, who doesn't spill their purse all the time, right? And so in the dynamic, we have Sam spilling her purse all the time and Kelly being really closed and shutting her down. And that was a challenge. And it was a challenge for Adrienne because she felt clipped. She felt a lot of the time she wasn't getting to fully experience having the emotional experience. And it was a difficult thing for us to understand because she would, give us the note if she wanted to say more or whatever. And then we'd be like, but that's not our character, blah, blah, blah. But she was, in a certain way, she was right that we were giving a lot of her subtext was her backstory as opposed to her immediate wants and things like that. So we did start to make those adjustments in season 2 to give her playable wants and playable actions, even if she wasn't speaking them, fully and spilling her purse about it. She was able to know what she wanted. It wasn't just like hiding a secret from the past or feeling, in first season, a lot of her wants were in the past.
Right.
And that was challenging. So I would say that was the hardest. Would you, Tass?
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. It hadn't occurred to me, but yeah, I think that when you are writing a character who's closed, that's it. To do that justice is very hard, and yet was crucial for how we saw these two characters. The open book and the closed door, and how are they going to come together? But yeah, so that would certainly, yeah, I agree.
That's the gift of having a second season to then be able to really dig deeper into these characters.
Well, and the gift of having such a great actress too. Adrienne is she fleshed out everything. And so the first season, she filled in a lot of the blanks. And the second season, she wanted us to help her have more. And I really respected that. She just brings herself completely to it. And so we were lucky.
I had someone ask a question that I'm not sure she was able to make it here tonight, but she wanted to know from each of you, what's the favorite line you've ever written? And Sherry, what's your favorite line Tassie's written, vice versa? If you can't remember the line exactly, even the feeling.
I think Tass, I loved that Brandy scene in episode 2. And I think there's a lot of those lines that you wrote that I loved about the throuple. Did you write that? You wrote the throuple line, right? All that.
My favorite line of Sherry's ever was on Rookie Blue. And it was finally Sam and Andy were getting together and having.
No, that's not a line of dialogue. That's not a line of dialogue that she's about to write a description. She's about to say a description.
But it was my favorite because
a line from a script. Okay, you can say that. Go for it.
Okay,
go
for it.
No.
She says that I have written better lines than this. I just want to say.
No, what I loved about it was that it was so. Now I can't say it because now it sounds like I'm being mean. It's a line that gives me great delight to this day.
You have to say it or none of us will sleep tonight.
I wrote he lay down on top of her and described the sex scene because I already knew that I'd get so mocked by everybody.
So it was just like he lies down on top of her. End of scene. And I was like, that is so amazing. Because what else could you write? It's so gross writing the sex scenes. It's kind of irrelevant writing them. It's basically up to the director and the actors how they're going to figure it out, unless you're giving them witty dialogue in between. But I don't know. I learned a lot from that line. I'm serious because I would try and make the romance sex scenes seem like. I don't know. I learned a lot from that.
I think I may steal that, Sherry. That's great. Because I was writing a sex scene and I was trying to make it really sexy and I'm describing everything and I sent it to my writers group. This was a few years ago when they were like, ooh, we felt really cringy reading that. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll just put, and then he lay on top of her. That'll do it.
No, I mean, I literally was writing that scene going, okay, have the chorus of jokers
Assholes.
taking the shit out of this scene. So how can I make it totally not be make funnable? And then this is the line.
That's going to live with you forever now. That's awesome.
Anyway, I know I've written a better line than that.
She has written so many brilliant lines of dialogue. I couldn't possibly quote them all. Like, it's one of my favorite writers of dialogue. Her dialogue is so specific, and you know that it's like The Gliders with Aunt Carmel, and you know, like
That's great.
I can pick out a Sherry White gem a mile away. So,
yeah, I don't think it's possible for us to pick a favorite. Favorite. What was the one you just? Oh, you heard me. Yeah, but you won't get the context. You won't get the context. It'll take too much to explain it. But that was a good line that Tassie wrote. You heard me.
And so will we see that in season 2? So we should be all okay. We'll be all watching out for it, and then we'll all laugh and go, "Ha! Now we get it."
Yeah. When you hear "you heard me," Sam saying that,
Yep.
you can find it.
Then we'll know. Excellent. What is a show that you're watching now? Do you have time to watch a show now? Like, are you watching anything that you're like, damn, I wish I wrote that? Or that you're just really enjoying?
right now, I've been watching I love Ted Lasso. I love Succession. I mean, very obvious answers. I just watched the morning show and I feel ambivalent about it. I liked first season more than second season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching the Wheel of Time.
Yep. Are you enjoying it?
I am enjoying it. Yeah.
I started watching what's it called? Yellow Jackets. Have you seen
Oh,
that?
love Yellow Jackets.
Oh my God. Did you see the one? I think it was last week Sunday.
Yeah,
like Juliette Lewis. I'll say that's one of my favorite lines I've heard in a long time. When she was waiting, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who's not there, but she was waiting for Christina Ricci's character to walk in the house.
I can't remember the line.
It was something like, am I allowed to swear on this? Okay, they can bleep it out. She said something like, "Hello, Misty, you fucking mental psychopath," or something. But she did it in her Juliette Lewis way, and it was just like, oh, that was perfect. It was great.
Yeah, no, that's a good one.
And do you have sorry,
watched the 4th episode of Maid, and and the 4th episode blew my mind, where she's like in somebody's house and kind of has a date there, and then the woman comes home, and it was a really good episode. But
and is there a shame show that you have that you can share with us, like a secret show that you don't normally let people know because it's not highbrow enough for us?
I'm all shame shows all the time. I have a 12-year-old daughter, and we have
so name one.
Pandemic. It's like last night I nearly wept with excitement that Selling Sunset was back. Like we've watched Kardashians, we've watched Selling Sunset, we've watched.
You got some good shame ones. That's good.
Oh yeah, like reality television with a 12-year-old, my favorite.
How about
Here's the weird thing about me. I have never in my life watched an episode of reality television. Not one.
Nothing? Not even like a Survivor or something?
Nope.
Wow.
I've never I've never played a video game either. Like there's just some things I just haven't done. And it doesn't seem like there's a point to taking it up, you know?
And then my last question is like, what are your favorite room snacks? What have you missed out on because we've been stuck in Zoom?
I'm really relieved that there have been no room snacks in the last 2 years. I mean, I just all I do is eat when I'm in a writing room. If there's good snacks, I eat them. If there's bad snacks, I eat them. If there's not good snacks, I'm mad. If there's too many good snacks, I'm mad. Like I find it. I have a very tortured relationship with that. So,
Fair enough.
I don't know. Cher, what have you missed?
No, I'm still eating it. Whatever it was I liked, I'm still eating it.
It's chocolate covered almonds. Like I just can't say no to them. So that's like, we got to have those in there. I have one more question that came in. This is from Marushka. Oh, hi Marushka. Amazing writer. Kill your darlings is one of the most common things we hear as writers. What darlings for this season were the most painful to kill? It's a Great question.
I don't feel like, you know, this is the one thing, and then I'm not saying this is not for sure, but you don't hang on to the darlings so much. Like the more you do it, the more you don't really hang on to the darlings, or you don't put the darling in if it doesn't really, I mean, every now and then I guess there's something that we have to lose that we loved, but generally that doesn't seem to happen to us anymore. Maybe we're not making enough darlings, Tassie. I don't know.
Or you just have got to be able to keep them all.
I think that for me, I think that we just, and I think because we're so, this season too, we were so tight to production that there's not loads of exploratory writing time. You're kind of breaking a script that needs to be pretty close to what you're going to be drafting and shooting. And
did you have like a development period prior to actually starting to break the season where you kind of knew, like you kind of worked out, this is what we're going to do over season 2? Or did you go straight in like, this is episode 1, 2, 3? Like, do you do a Bible still for when you're in a second season, or no?
I mean, we wrapped December 22nd. And we started the room in mid-January for second season. So
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And Sherry and I try to have a shape, an arc. You know, we're just putting finishing touches on a season 3 pitch kind of arc document that will give us a shape to start with. I'm going to say when we get renewed for a 3rd season. I hope. Fingers crossed, knock on wood.
Fingers crossed, yeah. Sure.
So we try, it's nice for us to have something like that to work from when we're starting up again. But it can be it doesn't have to be a fancy Bible, really. It has to be a compelling enough document that it can go to the network and they can see what we're hoping to do. But, you know, I would happily never write a Bible again in my life.
No.
Fair enough. Well, on that, I want to thank both Sherry and Tassie for joining us this evening. This was really a fun experience for us all, I hope. We can't wait to see season 2. Season 1 was fantastic, and I'm really excited to see where we get to follow these incredible women and what they get up to and what shenanigans is going to happen.
Well, thank you for being really great at this. It's not an easy job. You did a great job.
Way harder job of the night. So thank you for your thoughtful questions.
Oh, thank you so much. You've been watching Writers Talking TV presented by the Writers Guild of Canada. This edition will also be posted on the WGC's YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/user/Writers Guild of Canada in the next few days. And I wish you all a wonderful evening and look forward to season 2 coming up on January 5th on CBC.
Thank you.
Guys, thanks everybody for coming out.
Thank you. Good night, everyone. Thank you.